Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at a woman and felt that mysterious shift in her energy? Something you couldn't quite explain, but couldn't ignore either. The way her voice softens, her eyes linger, her presence feels warmer, more magnetic. That's not coincidence. That's her biology and psychology speaking louder than words. But here's the truth most people don't understand. When a woman is aroused, what happens inside her is far more intricate, emotional, and powerful than most men ever realize. It's not just about her body, it's about her mind, her emotions, her confidence, and her connection to herself. In this video, we're going to dive into the unspoken side of female desire, the subtle signs, the emotional signals, the psychological shifts that happen when a woman is truly in that state. This isn't about objectifying women or reducing them to their reactions. This is about understanding what real intimacy looks like when you view it through the lens of respect, curiosity, and awareness. Because once you understand how a woman feels when she's turned on, mentally, emotionally, and physically, you begin to see desire as something deeper than touch. You begin to see it as communication. Stay with me until the end, because what you'll learn here will not only change how you interpret a woman's behavior, but also how you connect with her energy. You'll see that attraction isn't just chemistry, it's psychology, timing, and emotion all woven together. And when you know how to recognize that balance, you stop guessing and start understanding. So if you're ready to go beyond the surface, to learn what truly makes a woman think, feel, and connect, then listen closely. This might change the way you see desire forever. When a woman feels desire building within her, her body begins to express it long before she puts it into words. Attraction in women is not loud or obvious. It's layered, instinctive, and deeply connected to her subconscious need for intimacy and connection. You'll often notice it not in what she says, but in the smallest of movements and changes in her energy. Her body becomes a silent language of emotion and arousal, communicating through gestures, glances, and shifts in tone that only a perceptive man will notice. When a woman is in this state, her focus subtly shifts. She might maintain longer eye contact, allowing a few extra seconds of connection that feel heavier than before. Her pupils may widen, her breathing slows slightly, and her posture changes. She may lean in closer, tilt her head, or expose her neck, which is one of the body's most vulnerable and sensual areas. These small gestures are her body's natural way of expressing openness and curiosity. They are not calculated moves. They're instinctive expressions of her biological and emotional readiness to connect. You may also notice how her voice changes. It becomes softer, lower, and slower, a rhythm that feels almost hypnotic. This tonal shift is part of her sensual expression, a natural way of drawing attention and deepening intimacy. Her laughter becomes more frequent, her reactions more genuine. She isn't performing, she's feeling. Even her scent changes subtly due to hormonal shifts, which can unconsciously affect attraction. Her body language becomes a dance between comfort and anticipation, wanting to be seen but not wanting to give everything away too soon. This is part of the feminine mystery that fuels desire. Another powerful cue is touch. When a woman is aroused, she often touches herself more, not in an overt way, but gently, through gestures like running her fingers through her hair, caressing her arm, or adjusting her clothing. These actions are her way of grounding herself in her own body, releasing the buildup of energy she feels inside. Her skin becomes more sensitive, her awareness of physical sensations heightens, and every small touch begins to carry more meaning. It's her body's way of tuning into the present moment where her emotions and senses merge. But beneath all these signals lies something deeper, her emotional openness. When a woman feels desire, she begins to open up in conversation. Her guard lowers. She becomes more playful, vulnerable, and expressive. Her curiosity deepens because arousal for women isn't only about physical stimulation, it's about emotional resonance. She begins to feel safe enough to let her authentic self emerge, And that's the moment when real connection begins to form. Understanding these subtle cues requires sensitivity and respect. When a man can read her body language not as invitation, but as communication, he connects with her in a way that feels safe and natural. These changes are her way of saying, I'm here, I feel this, without needing to verbalize it. Her body becomes both her whisper and her mirror, reflecting a state of inner excitement that she's only beginning to explore. When a woman feels desire rising within her, her entire sensory world comes alive. Arousal, for her, is not just physical, it's deeply connected to awareness. She begins to experience her body and surroundings more vividly, as though everything is slightly more amplified. The touch of fabric on her skin feels different. The brush of air across her neck becomes noticeable, and even small sensations seem to hum with meaning. This is her body's natural way of heightening connection with herself. It's not always about wanting someone else, it's about becoming fully present in her own skin. You may see her move differently, slower, more deliberate, as if she's savoring her own presence. Her gestures become softer yet intentional, her energy carrying a quiet, magnetic charge. Self touch is one of the most telling signs of this heightened awareness. She may adjust her hair more often, run her fingers along her arm, or rest her hand near her lips without even realizing it. These movements are not acts of performance, but instinctive responses to the sensations pulsing through her. Touching herself helps her regulate the emotional and physical energy that desire brings. It's a subconscious effort to connect the mental spark of arousal to the physical body. The warmth that builds under her skin becomes a reminder of her vitality, of her ability to feel deeply and fully. In this state, even the smallest contact, a hand brushing against something, a piece of jewelry resting against her collarbone, can send a wave of awareness through her. Her senses also become more sensitive to the environment around her. Scents, sounds, and textures begin to affect her differently. A certain fragrance might trigger a memory of closeness. A tone of voice might awaken a sense of safety or longing. The human brain ties arousal closely to memory and emotion, which is why women often describe desire as a full body experience rather than a single act. She feels it in her breath, her heartbeat, her skin, and even in her imagination. Her awareness deepens, and with that awareness comes both excitement and introspection. This is also the stage where confidence subtly shifts. When a woman feels attuned to her body, she naturally carries herself with more self assurance. Her movements have rhythm and intention, her gaze holds weight, and her energy feels magnetic without her needing to say anything. This confidence isn't about seduction, it's about embodiment. She is in tune with her senses, and that connection radiates outward, creating an invisible field of attraction that others can feel even if they can't explain why. In this heightened sensory state, the boundary between physical and emotional becomes beautifully blurred. A simple moment of self touch or awareness can lead her into a space of reflection where she's not just feeling desire, but also connecting with her own femininity, her self worth, and her capacity for pleasure. It's a moment of intimacy with herself where she doesn't need anyone else to validate her feelings. The power of this stage lies in presence, being fully alive in her body, connected to her senses, and aware of the natural rhythm of her own desire. When a woman feels desire, it often begins in her imagination long before anything physical happens. Her mind becomes the spark that ignites her body, and this inner world of fantasy and emotion is where her arousal truly takes shape. Unlike men, whose desire is often triggered by visual or direct stimulation, a woman's arousal flows from emotional energy, anticipation, and psychological depth. Her thoughts start to weave stories, sometimes subtle, sometimes vivid, about closeness, touch, and connection. These mental images are not random, they're reflections of her emotional needs, her memories, and her sense of curiosity about intimacy. Desire for her is less about the act itself and more about the emotional and mental space that surrounds it. When she's in this state, her imagination becomes alive with detail. She may find herself replaying a conversation that made her feel seen or remembering the look someone gave her that carried quiet intensity. These small moments become emotional triggers, stirring her thoughts and deepening her sense of intrigue. The more emotionally connected she felt in that moment, the stronger the impression becomes. It's not just about physical attraction, it's about how that person made her feel.
Mm.
A woman's fantasies are often built around connection, presence, and mutual awareness, things that awaken her emotions before her body even responds. Her daydreams can also become a safe space where she explores the parts of her desire that she doesn't always express openly. She might imagine being pursued, desired, or understood completely without words. These thoughts give her a sense of control and emotional safety, allowing her to connect with her sensuality on her own terms. In these moments, she's not seeking external validation. She's nurturing her inner world, reconnecting with the parts of herself that crave excitement, affection, and emotional closeness. This psychological dimension of arousal is what makes female desire so layered. It's not driven by urgency, but by emotional resonance and depth. As her mind engages in fantasy, her body begins to respond subtly. Her breathing may deepen, her heart rate may rise, and her awareness of her body becomes sharper. These reactions are her brain's way of preparing for connection. It's a cycle of mind influencing body and body feeding back into mind. The anticipation itself becomes a form of pleasure. For many women, this stage is more satisfying than the physical act because it allows space for imagination, emotion, and mystery. Understanding this aspect of female arousal is essential for meaningful connection. A woman doesn't need constant stimulation to feel desire. She needs emotional cues that awaken her imagination. When she feels emotionally understood, her fantasies deepen naturally. Her attraction is built through feeling valued, desired, and safe. It's this emotional spark that turns simple thoughts into lasting fascination. The mind becomes the most powerful organ in arousal because it holds memory, imagination, and longing, all of which blend to create an experience that lingers far longer than any physical touch. When a woman is aroused, her entire mood and communication style begin to shift in ways that can be both subtle and magnetic. Her energy changes first. She might not even be aware of it, but others can sense it. Desire brings a natural confidence, a playful spark that shines through her expressions, her tone, and her movement. The rhythm of her voice may slow down, her laughter becomes more frequent and genuine, and her body language opens up. She may lean in a little closer during conversation, hold eye contact longer than usual, or tease lightly in a way that feels inviting rather than forced. These are not deliberate tactics, they are instinctive signals of emotional and physical openness that come from the chemistry between mind and body. Her behavior also reflects an internal restlessness, a blend of excitement and curiosity that seeks release or connection. She might appear more energized, animated, or even distracted. Her thoughts are partly occupied by sensation, memory, or fantasy, which gives her an aura of mystery. In this state, her emotional rhythm becomes unpredictable but intriguing. She can shift between warmth and withdrawal, between confidence and shyness as she processes her own feelings. It's not a game, it's her way of balancing vulnerability and control, the two forces that shape the experience of female desire. Communication during this phase often becomes layered with subtext. A simple conversation can carry undertones of flirtation or playfulness without ever becoming explicit. She might compliment more, joke more easily, or use her words to test emotional closeness. The tone of her voice carries more emotion, as if she's allowing parts of herself that are usually guarded to peek through. These moments of expression are windows into her emotional world, where attraction is less about direct pursuit and more about connection and emotional synchrony. Her arousal also influences how she listens and responds. She becomes more present, more attuned to the person she's interacting with. She notices details, the way someone speaks, their scent, the energy they carry. These small elements become powerful triggers for her imagination. Because desire in women often begins in the mind, her focus on these sensory and emotional cues deepens her attraction. She isn't responding just to words or appearance, but to how the interaction makes her feel safe, desired, seen, and alive. On a deeper level, this change in mood and communication is her way of exploring her own sensuality through connection. Arousal gives her permission to express parts of herself that are usually hidden: her playful side, her curiosity, her confidence. She enjoys being seen and responded, but also enjoys the control of deciding when and how to reveal that energy. Her words and gestures become an unspoken dance between comfort and temptation, testing boundaries while maintaining grace. For the observer, recognizing these shifts requires sensitivity and respect. Her mood changes, and communication cues are not invitations to cross lines. They are expressions of her inner world coming to life. Understanding this makes intimacy richer because it acknowledges that desire is as much about emotion and energy as it is about physicality. When a woman's communication carries warmth, wit, and rhythm, it reflects a body and mind in harmony where desire flows naturally, quietly, and powerfully beneath the surface. When a woman feels aroused, what she ultimately seeks often goes far beyond physical release. Her desire is deeply intertwined with emotion, trust, and connection. Unlike men, whose arousal can sometimes be more immediate and visually driven, a woman's longing tends to center around emotional fulfillment. The feeling of being desired, understood, and connected on a level that touches both her heart and her body. In moments of heightened desire, she craves closeness as much as she craves touch. She wants to feel safe enough to let go, to express the parts of herself that are usually hidden, and to experience intimacy that feels mutual, not mechanical. Her arousal is a gateway to vulnerability, and vulnerability can only exist in the presence of emotional safety. This is why, for many women, intimacy becomes a language of affirmation. When she is aroused, her body might be calling for touch, but her heart is asking to be seen. She wants to feel chosen, not just for her appearance, but for her essence. The act of connection becomes meaningful when it reflects care, attention, and genuine desire. The warmth of skin, the sound of a voice, the rhythm of breath, all these sensory experiences gain depth when paired with emotional presence. Without that emotional layer, physical touch can feel incomplete, even empty. What drives her desire isn't just anticipation of pleasure, but the possibility of merging physical and emotional worlds into one experience. When she feels that bond, her arousal deepens. It becomes a form of trust. Her body relaxes, her mind opens, and her natural sensuality begins to flow effortlessly. It's in that space that she feels not only pleasure, but also connection, meaning, and a reaffirmation of her own femininity. This is why emotional connection is often a stronger driver of continued attraction for women. It's the difference between a fleeting experience and one that lingers in memory. At the same time, her desire carries a quiet power. When she seeks intimacy, it's not because she needs validation, but because she wants to share the energy that's building inside her. The longing to connect becomes a creative force, an expression of life, emotion, and identity. Through closeness, she reclaims her body as her own, allowing it to be both soft and strong, both giving and receiving. True satisfaction for her comes from knowing that the experience is mutual, that it's not just her giving or being taken from, but both people meeting in emotional and physical rhythm. For men seeking to understand this, it's important to recognize that arousal in women is a whole body, whole heart experience. It's not limited to touch, it's amplified by communication, trust, and empathy. When she feels emotionally connected, her physical response naturally intensifies because she feels safe in expressing desire. The greatest pleasure for a woman is not just in the act itself, but in the feeling that she's desired, respected, and emotionally intertwined with her partner. That's when intimacy transforms from an encounter into a memory, one that she carries long after, replaying it in her mind because it made her feel not just wanted, but truly understood. Understanding what a woman does when she feels desire isn't about decoding her or reducing her to a set of behaviors. It's about recognizing that female arousal is a complex dance of body, mind, and emotion. Every glance, every touch, every shift in tone is part of an unspoken language that expresses her connection to herself and to the moment. When she feels safe, desired, and emotionally seen, her sensuality blooms naturally. Her desire is not something to be controlled or analyzed, but appreciated and respected for what it truly is, a living, breathing expression of her humanity. Real intimacy begins when both partners learn to meet in that space of awareness where pleasure is not just physical, but deeply emotional. When you understand how a woman experiences her arousal through subtle cues, imagination, communication, and connection, you begin to see her not just as a body, but as a whole person whose desire carries meaning, history, and power. The ability to recognize and honor that makes you more than just a lover. It makes you emotionally intelligent, present, and capable of creating real intimacy that goes beyond the surface. So, to everyone listening, remember this: the more you learn to observe with empathy instead of judgment, and the more you choose to respond with presence instead of pressure, the more deeply you'll connect. Desire isn't something you chase, it's something you nurture through understanding and respect. The strongest attraction grows in an atmosphere of safety, curiosity, and mutual desire where two people don't just touch bodies, but meet minds and hearts in the process. Thank you for taking the time to listen, learn, and expand your understanding of intimacy and connection. The fact that you're here shows that you value growth, compassion, and awareness, qualities that elevate every relationship you'll ever have. Wishing you confidence, clarity, and connection in all that you do. Stay kind, stay curious, and may every connection you build be rooted in understanding and respect. Good luck, and thank you for being part of this journey toward deeper emotional and sensual intelligence.